Welcome to the Burlesque Hall of Fame 2015.
Come here, Jen. Give us a little.
Bastard.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you actually get into burlesque?
Many years ago, a good friend of mine was throwing a 1920s party and she was looking for a tap dance act. So my friend and I, who I knew from college, we were like, oh, we're tap dancers. We'll do a dance for your party. It snowballed and we became the Minsky sisters after that. And then the Minskys performed, even though the Minskys was not a strip act, we were performing in a lot of burlesque shows, and Kristen moved to Providence, so I started performing solo, and I just decided to strip one day. Probably 50% of the work that I do is either modified striptease or no stripping, but usually even with the Minsky sisters, we like to still do the burlesque reveal. I like to go from one costume to another costume before I actually strip.
Oh, yes. I actually do enjoy watching you on stage. It's like somebody walked in the room with cupcakes and I'm smiling the whole time because I love cupcakes.
I feel grateful every single time that I'm on a stage, like a big proper stage, because New York City, we lack those things. One of the things that sticks with me is it came from Julie Atlas-Muse, and she said the audience is always on your side. They always want to see you succeed. So even when I do something, like I slip and fall a lot because I wear tap shoes, so they always want to see me. Like when I slip and fall and I get up and I'm like, oh, and I just play it off or I make something funny out of it, people love it. And that has helped me a lot. Like those follies along the way, like messing up on stage has helped me grow as a performer, I think.
I really love the fact that you love abandoned places,
Yes.
run down places.
Well, I'm a big history nerd, if you couldn't tell. That's why I love doing all the 1920s stuff. I love going to these abandoned places because of the history behind them. Before I go visit a place, I often research it. I find out like what it used to be, and that usually draws me to go to the place more because I find out it was an abandoned like children's mental institute, or I find that it was like the only black school in like Baltimore, like in the teens and 20s. And it's just the decay is, I mean, just looking at it is very beautiful as well, because it's just nature taking over these structures. So it's seeing these beautiful old buildings like living harmoniously with the trees and like weeds and everything that's starting to grow around it. It's just really beautiful and fascinating to me. And in my other life, I'm also a photographer, so I love going and shooting them as well.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself going in the future of burlesque?
I'm not sure. I think about that often, like where this is going to lead me, especially as I do very high energy dancing. So I'm not going to be able to do that forever, because my body will eventually deteriorate, hopefully not for a long time. But I really love teaching. I teach like 20s, Charleston, other dances from the 20s, like the Black Bottom and sort of things like that. I would love to teach. I would love to get more involved in the burlesque community as well. I produce a show in New York called the Champagne Riot that's also of the old burlesque tradition of having the live band, having not just the striptease acts, but also a lot of variety in the shows. So I love doing that. I would love, like in my older days, I would love to keep that show going or something of that capacity. I'd love to just pass that tradition on.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me and blabbing about burlesque. And honestly, you are a charm, a gem, and I can't wait to see what comes from you in the future. Thank you so much, Jen. Ladies and gentlemen, Gin Minsky.
Aye, sir! I know this shit